Welcome to the Elite BSC podcast, where our entire focus is helping commercial janitorial contractors succeed. You want a growing company, a thriving team, and healthy profits, and we are here to help. My name is Jordan Tong. I'm the founder of Elite BSC, a company dedicated to helping janitorial companies grow and thrive. I also serve as CEO and one of the owners of France Building Services. France is a janitorial company employing nearly 600 people. Since 2007, we grew from 1.5 million to more than 20 million in annual revenue and built what I think is one of the best teams in the world. The goal of Elite BSC in this podcast is to give owners in the industry a vision of where their company can be and the information and tools to get there. I want to share what I have learned over the years to make this a reality for you. Hey guys, Jordan here with Elite BSC. So today's episode, I want to answer the question, can cleaners keep getting raises? You know, if you've been in the business for any length of time, and really anytime you're working with employees in general, but in particular those that are maybe towards the bottom end of the income range, a question that frequently comes up, or an issue that comes up, is people asking for raises. And, you know, in a perfect world, I'd love to be able to give all the raises to all the people and to where everyone was happy. But obviously there's some constraints there that make that difficult to pull off. And so maybe to formally put the question, should cleaner pay be increased with each successive year of employment, even when the customer price hasn't been increased? And that's a tough question. So here, a few tensions that are at play here that I think we need to try to balance as we would answer this question is, first and foremost, we should be treating our employees fairly and I would say lovingly. And by that, I think of when Jesus talked about the second greatest commandment. He said to love your neighbor as yourself. Or we could say the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so we want to treat our team members in that manner, like we would want to be treated. So that would be number one. Number two is we want our team members to stick around. You know, the longer, the better. And so it's not like we want a revolving door. So we're trying to treat people fairly. We're also trying to, within those constraints, make sure they stay around as long as we can, as long as we can keep them. And then finally, the company has to make a profit. So, you know, sometimes profit can be considered a dirty word, but in reality, if the company doesn't make a profit, then there's no job to give to the employee in the first place. And so there is this balance, like we must take care of and continue to try to, you know, bless or take care of our employees, but at the same time, the company has to make a profit. Though it's in the employee's best interest and our customers if the company wins as well. And so our challenge in answering the question or objection here is, within these tensions, like how do we answer the question of whether or not team members can keep getting raises? So there's a few ways to look at this. So what I wanted to do is just offer maybe 5 different thoughts or ideas related to this that maybe makes this question easier to answer. And it can be maybe a yes, maybe. It can be the answer, because this is something that team members are going to be asking for, and so we need to be prepared for this. So the first thing, and this is, to me, this is right out of the gate what can make or break you on this, is that the job has to be bid appropriately. So if you go out to get a job and you slash prices and put in the cheapest wages and hours you can do in order to get the job, you're going to set yourself up for failure right out of the gate. Because in this case, like your wages are going to be capped. I mean, if you want to remain profitable, by how low or aggressively you bid the job. Now, I'm not saying there's never a time to bid a job more aggressively, but typically that should come at the expense of company profit and not the team members. So the cuts should not be in wages per se, but in profitability or overhead. So this is key. Like, this has got to happen right out of the gate. that the jobs have to be bid rightly to accommodate the sort of pay increases and appropriate pay that we're looking for. So the second one, and this one is a bit more tricky. So, when I answered this question on a webinar a few years back, and as the wage market has shifted a little bit, I think this is still true, but it's made it a little bit more difficult. But I would recommend not starting someone out too high. I think there is the idea that no matter where you start someone, the idea of a raise is an expectation. And so we need to go as high in terms of initial pay in order to get quality applicants and people to sign on with our organization, but not so high that we don't give ourselves any room for upward mobility. So I think if you, let's say and I'm speculating here a little bit, but let's say you have a wage that's $15 an hour, but yet you can have no increases, versus a wage that starts at $14 an hour and there are increases built in. So I think that if you had those two different scenarios and both of them agreed to the wage starting out, I think the one that has increases built in, there's going to be some, I think, additional satisfaction that comes along with getting the increases that, and the other that is not going to get them, there could be some corresponding frustration that goes along with that. And so I just think that we should, if we have a budget and we bid on a job, at a certain pay rate, I think we should back down from that when we're hiring in order to give ourselves room to give price or wage increases to our team members. And then at some point, this is going to lead us into the next one, is that we should strive to get regular price increases from our customers. And really, I think this could be one of the main reasons, and as we're presenting our case to customers for why we should get a price increase. We're pleading for our side here, for our cause, and one of those is we want to be able to give raises and increases, in part because we want to take care of our people, but in part because the market demands it as well. And if we don't, they'll be able to go find better opportunities somewhere else. And if you have a good team on site, it's not a difficult ask for a customer to say, hey, look, we really want to keep these people. You like them. We like them. They're doing a good job. But we're going to have to start giving them wage increases over time. And we need to schedule in some regular price increases to make that possible. And that's a much easier sell, I think, than just, hey, we're not as profitable, we need to increase our price. Like there's some real tangible, the customer can sort of see the what and the why and the understand and maybe be on your side about making this happen. So, there's a few ways to do this. I think that, one of them, the easiest way is to build price increases into the contract, and not be afraid of asking for that. I mean, most customers are expecting that. There's a sense in where if you build price increases into the contract and they're modest, there's not much to balk at. Like there's in some senses a sense of security there that you're not going to just randomly jack up the price. So there's some expectation that they have, and that gives you ongoing cushion to give increases. And then another way to handle price increases is just a case-by-case basis. So maybe as you renew contracts, which you should be doing, even when it's scary, rather let sleeping dogs lie. But I think as we renew our contracts, we should try to get our jobs under some sort of term agreement if possible, even if it has just optional renewal years. And when we renew those contracts, that's a good time to talk about wage increases for our team members. And again, these can be modest increases to the customer that translate into, pretty good increases or ones that are at least satisfactory to the team members. So price increases, I think, are a huge component in being able to answer yes to our original question of can we continue to increase, worker pay? Well, over the long haul, yes, if we're managing our contract well with our client. So number 4, and this is where it's like, this is the one little bit of negative here, is that we do have to realize, though, that every job has a cap. And And team members need to realize this. And this is in many ways true everywhere you go, that certain positions will command maybe a certain range of pay for them. And in order to get outside of that range, you have to do more for the organization and increase your value to the organization, which is typically, moving from, let's say you're in a labor role to maybe something supervisory where you're overseeing or have more responsibilities. And so there is a sense, certainly, that cleaner pay is capped out. Now, it may, over the long haul, be slowly, incrementally raised, but there is a sense in where there's a cap on it because it's the cap that the customer imposes, that the market imposes, that we can only pay so much. And so I think it's helpful to be honest with the team member if they're asking about wages. Let them know, hey, this particular job only pays up to this amount. And if you would like to make more money, let's talk about the things you would need to do and what that might potentially look like for you to get a price increase. And that might be the launching pad for them improving their skill set and creating some upward mobility for themselves. And that's a big win. I think that level of honesty with them could be a game changer for them from a career standpoint. So, lastly, I think that something to think about when this question is raised is we need to, because one of the tensions, remember, we said we were working within, is the company needs to make a profit. We want to treat our employees fairly, and we want to keep them around. So one of the things in order to maybe check all those boxes is consider some non-pay incentives. So sometimes when pay increases aren't an option, there are other things that matter. And certainly pay matters. And I think at the lower end of the wage spectrum, pay matters a lot. But I think once you get over a certain level, a certain hump, there are other non-monetary things that matter. So someone feeling loved and cared for, someone feeling like they're a part of something, part of a team, that people care, their contribution is recognized and seen, that they as a person are seen and heard. And so, or maybe there's some other things like flexibility. Maybe people have some issues going on at home and they just need a little bit of more flexibility than a regular job could give them. And so there are a host of things that you could do that, you could throw pizza parties for crews, you could do awards and recognitions, you could do additional training to help improve skill sets, you could give them time off, you could give them flexibility. There's a whole host of other incentives that you could give that don't cost much or anything, but that mean something, that add value to the team member working there. And while they would like to have more money and more pay, if we can't give that, we can certainly give other things that add value to them. And so, I think this is maybe the last tool we have in our tool belt here to answer this question or to make it more palatable. And I think it's important. And I think even if we can continue to raise wages for the team member, we should still think about some of these non-pay incentives as well, because I think it improves the quality of the job and the satisfaction of the team member working there. So this is a sticky question to answer. I'm certainly not an expert in this. It's been a long time since I've been the one in the field having to deal with these questions, and I know that the markets have changed and there's been a challenging labor market. I think it's evened out a little bit, but these are tough questions to answer. So I think if we keep these principles in mind, I think we're going to set ourselves up to make it an easier question to answer and have more retention and less turbulence with our staff by thinking through these things carefully. So I hope this is helpful, and we'll see you next time. If you found the information in this podcast helpful, please like and subscribe on whatever podcast platform that you're using. If you would like more resources or help to grow your cleaning company, head over to EliteBSC.com. We have loads of articles, videos, free tools, coaching options, and a lot more. If your company is greater than $500K in revenue and you want to take your learning experience to the next level, check out our mastermind group. You can learn more about that at EliteBSC.com/mastermind.